want? What you want? Hey guys, this is P.M.R.Bonez88, and during the weekend I went to the movies and I saw X-Men Apocalypse. Now before X-Men Apocalypse came in theaters, eventually they were starting to review it, and I've been hearing some negative reviews that they said it was the worst X-Men movie ever, and according to Rotten Tomatoes it had the lowest rating. And I thought to myself, what? They're reviewing X-Men and it said it was the worst? Come on, it can't be it wasn't that bad. It's not as better than X-Men Days of Future Past or the first X-Men movie that came in theaters back in 2000 or X-Men 2. But it was certainly better than X-Men The Last Stand and X-Men Origins The Wolverine. The storyline was a little rushed, and we barely got to know the characters. We know them about a minute or two, then we go on to the next character, and then we know them about a minute or two, and etc, etc. But I heard a couple positive reviews. I mean, Chris Stuntman reviewed X-Men Apocalypse, and he gave it an A. Jeremy John reviewed it too, and he said it was worth watching it. So yeah, and to me, I think it was good. X-Men Apocalypse had good action scenes, but the storyline was pretty bit rushed and not too much story background of the characters. So this movie takes place in the 80s. I mean, yeah, we've seen all the X-Men that came out throughout the years. X-Men First Class took place in the 60s. X-Men Days of Future Past took place in the 70s. And now, X-Men Apocalypse took place in the 80s. Now Bryan Singer returned for the third time to do X-Men Apocalypse, and once again, good job on it. And I was a little disappointed that the step in the direction that how it bring the characters in and starting to get to know them a little more, it didn't really flow out. And the few other characters returned from X-Men First Class and Days of Future Past. We see James Ellroy return to play as Professor X, Michael Fassbender returned to play as Magneto, and Jennifer Lawrence returning to play as none other than Mystique. We introduce a new villain named Apocalypse, which was played by Oscar Isaac, which we all know him as Poe from Star Wars The Force Awakens. Rose Byrne did return, but after from her absence in Days of Future Past, I'm really glad she did return for the second time. So this movie takes place in Egypt long ago, and Apocalypse takes on another human host, but fortunately that he was buried underneath the rocks, and where he was fallen into a deep coma and doesn't wake up until throughout the centuries. You know, everyone was worried because when we saw the first image of Apocalypse that he was all purple, and everyone thought he was the similarity of Ivan Ooze from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers the movie. But when we saw him in theaters or in the trailer, he was fully on blue. He wasn't purple at all. So luckily they were knowing what they were doing, and Oscar Isaac playing as Apocalypse, I think he did a good job. So now eventually Apocalypse finds new 4 horsemen of Apocalypse, and he gathers them up, and they are Storm, Archangel, Psylocke, and Magneto. So eventually the 5 start a reign of terror and create the end of the world. So now it's up to the X-Men to stop them before it's too late. When I said the storyline was kind of rushed, it was a little rushed, but this is the second time they did that. It almost reminds me from Batman v Superman when I said the story was very rushed and we didn't follow up the characters not too much. They just kind of just rushed it in, and This is same for X-Men Apocalypse, but I'm not saying it's the worst, and I'm not saying it's the greatest. Whatever Bryan Singer's direction that he was taking on, I wish he could have done it a little better, but there were some scenes that were actually cut or not really explained, such as the characters. When we introduced to Cyclops, Jean, Nightcrawler, we don't know their backgrounds too much, only just a little bit. We only know them just for a minute or two, and then when we go on to the next character, we only get to know them just for a minute or two. It's sadly why that Bryan Singer didn't want to get to know them too much, but I guess they were actually cut it, and there were probably scenes that will be deleted. And when X-Men Apocalypse comes on Blu-ray and DVD, they'll probably have some deleted scenes in it. Or if they do an extended cut, just like what they did to X-Men Days of Future Past, I hope they do another extended cut. The one character that stole the show once again was Quicksilver. He finally just blew everyone away. He even blew me away. And another thing that really disappointed me was Mystique. We barely see her in the movies. It's only Jennifer Lawrence playing just herself. Yeah, she is the star, and everybody wants to see Jennifer Lawrence and barely seeing Mystique. Throughout the other X-Men, the new X-Men trilogies that we've seen so far, in the First Class, it was balanced. It was between Jennifer Lawrence as herself and Mystique. And in Days of Future Past, we see much more of Mystique and less of Jennifer Lawrence. So that means she was starting to evolve and getting to know that she was becoming as Mystique. But in Apocalypse, they went backwards, so it's now the opposite. So Jennifer Lawrence is probably the biggest character ever, and Mystique is just only a side character. That was it. But was I complaining? Not really. I mean, I do like Jennifer Lawrence, but I just wish she could have been Mystique a little more. And another thing that was really great, that all the X-Men characters were actually in their suits. In their comic suits, and Cyclops was finally wearing the visor and that suit that he wore in the anime series and the comic books too. Jean Grey was also wearing her blue and yellow suit as well, just like in the comic books. And Nightcrawler, he also was wearing the red and black suit too, just like in the anime series and the comic books. And with the timeline that's now happening is kind of different. I mean, ever since with Days of Future Past, that they've changed everything. The past has changed, everything has been alternated. So the only thing that was erased and non-exist was X-Men The Last Stand, and X-Men Origins, the Wolverine, I think they alternated it. So that changes everything, and that goes same with the Wolverine. It didn't exist, so those three films did not exist. The only thing that exists were the 2000 movie X-Men and X-Men 2, X-Men United. Just to rate this film for X-Men Apocalypse, I would have to give it a 8.7 out of 10. It's worth watching it, and if you guys really want to see X-Men Apocalypse, if you're a big fan, you should definitely see it, and you may not be disappointed. I would definitely just say go for it, watch it, see what you guys think, and if you want to review it, go right ahead, because I think X-Men Apocalypse was a good movie. But still, once again, the storyline was a bit rushed. I wish they could have just explained more of the characters and maybe try and make it a little longer. I think Bryan Singer just cut a few scenes that were deleted or didn't really want it to be in the movie. But either way, it's a good movie to watch, and I'll probably see it again. And if they do make another director's cut or an extended cut on Blu-ray and DVD, I'll be looking forward to it. And this is P.M.R.Bonez88 signing off, and saying is, peace!